Hello, this is going to be one of those slightly free-form things that I haven't really prepared for, but just random acquisitions, charity shop things and so on, which there haven't been many the last couple of weeks, but the odd interesting little thing. Now, I was back visiting that Sussex bookshop which had some second-hand things a few days ago, and I didn't realise they had this whole section of old puffins which I remember from childhood. You know, I think at school there'd be this kind of puffin club where you'd get a slight discount on some of the titles if you ordered them from this catalogue. So now this one I didn't read it at the time, but this Alida by Alan Garner, this is from the same author who gave us, I think, what's now considered a little bit of a folk horror type of touchstone, which is The Owl Service. Now, I'm less familiar with this title. This is the stuff that imaginative children's dreams are made of. Readers who already acquired the Weird Stone of Brisingamen, the Moon of Gomrath, will want this one also. So it looks like sort of a slightly fantastical thing, but hard to turn it down really. Now the other one I found, which I don't know if anyone else my age group sort of gets this, but you'll sort of have a flashback to some kid's book that you had back then. You might have even liked it or some of it, but you suddenly get this flashback to, oh, wasn't there that really dodgy thing in it? Yeah, this one is Selected Cautionary Verses by Hilaire Belloc, French-born, I think, naturalised English, wrote up into, I don't know, I think he died in the early or mid-50s around that time. So this is of a, this stuff is of a certain vintage and will reveal certain attitudes. For actually most of it, to be fair, most of it is, I remember some of it from the time. I think we even had a record that had someone reading out Matilda, one of these verses. I'm not even sure, it may have even been the author doing it. I'm not sure, I wish I could remember. I just remember this line from it: every time she shouted fire, they only shouted little liar. So it's like cautionary, well, not, of course it's cautionary tales. It's like an English language Struwelpeter equivalent, I suppose, with for the most part, slightly less scary illustrations. However, the part of this book of which I have slightly troubled memories of is a poem called The Three Races. That's race as in ethnicity, which, given the vintage and so on, I think already sort of getting warning bells that we're going to get into some territory here right now. Worth stating that he limits this to European ethnicities, right, or national stereotypes, I suppose, but alright, keep me covered, Ginger, I'm going in. First off, I suppose that's meant to be like Scandinavians or Danes. Behold, my child, the Nordic man, and be as like him as you can. His legs are long, his mind is slow, his hair is lank and made of tow. Yeah, anyway, next page. This is the one that really stuck in my memory. I don't know who is he having a go at the Swiss here, or the Tyroleans? I mean, I think this was first published in 1940, so I suppose I can understand a little bit of, it's gloves. It would be gloves off with regard to people from countries that belong to the Axis powers. However, there's no sort of otherwise there's no mention of hostilities within this. There's just a put down Alpine people. This one, right? So there's this really unflattering caricature there, which I do remember quite clearly. I think even as a kid I was a bit with that. So here we go, and here we have the Alpine race. Oh, what a broad and foolish face. His skin is of a dirty yellow. He is a most unpleasant fellow. I'm just puzzled by that. Yeah. Anyway, last off, God, probably equally as egregious as that last one. The most degraded of them all, Mediterranean we call. His hair is crisp and even curls, and he is saucy with the girls. And there's, yeah, he's selling the ice cream. I'm not sure which of those two he's winking at, which is a bit of a worry. But wow, I'm of that age where this stuff was still on the shelves on childhood. I touched a little while ago, I think last year sometime, on that, the last one in the C.S. Lewis Narnia series, and yeah, which we had as well. But yeah, I do find that particular poem quite odd. For the most part, the rest of it, I mean, I think there are certain... Oh, there's a bit with a guy whipping a snake here, which is... Given that I think the very next poem advises children to be kind to animals, there's some slightly mixed messaging there. I guess this was the sort of thing that very few kids would have been enabled to put into practice, so probably slightly academic, but what else? I think there are some sort of hangovers of colonial attitude, for the large part within the illustrations, which were different artists rather than for the text. But a lot of it is, actually quite amusing and quite witty and probably pretty safe to give to a kid now. But there is a bit of a religious undercurrent. Yeah, I think he was quite serious about that, and it's a little bit preachy and judgy in certain areas, but other than some of it is actually quite funny still. But yeah, it's just odd to bump into it again, really. So other than that, it's not that often I pick up CDs anymore. I think, like a lot of people, you tend to sort of treat them as disposable things these days. But purely on the strength of the artwork and the packaging to this one, the Dodge Brothers, I sort of saw that on the shelf. I thought, well, how can that be bad? Anything looking like that has got to be interesting. I thought, well, that must be sort of 90s or early noughties Americana. It turns out the Dodge Brothers are the band that, I don't know if they're still going, but they contain Mark Kermode. Yeah, that Mark Kermode. He's the bass player in this. Also, this one appears to be signed by the two brothers, the Hammond brothers. Each member is represented by a firearm there. But I haven't played it yet, so we'll find out. Odd little find. It would be better if Mark Kermode had signed. Oh, the glue's coming off on the... I can't often find that with his old things. I'm going to have to sort of restore that in some way, but we'll see what that's like. But it's an odd little find. Anyway, I think that's me for now on this one. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope we will catch up shortly.